Yogiraj Siddhanath is a living master who, with the blessings of his Guru, has dedicated his life to the science of emotional and physical reset. His sadhana and mastery in this study can help bring about this change in life, rejuvenating the mind and the physical body to its true potential. Born in 1944 in the Solar Dynasty of Ikshavaku Rama, he used to go into spontaneous enlightened states from the age of 3. After finishing his education, his spiritual calling took him to the Himalayas to pursue a life of a yogi. His real transformation happened when he was graced by a vision of Mahavatar Babaji, the Supreme Spirit incarnate and the source of all Kriya Yoga knowledge. Since then, he has healed and transformed millions all over the world with his transmissions of pure Shakti energy. His unique gift is in simplifying the essence of Kriya Yoga in a way that all can understand and benefit from. Yogiraj is dedicated to the furthering of human awareness for earth peace healing through self-peace healing. Join Yogiraj to help restore balance in your body, mind and soul.
So Gurunath, you've explained the upward evolution of man.
What is the downward evolution?
And you teach a very scientific technique to your disciples, and you are a living master who's known to give the practice of Kriya Yoga. Can you explain a little bit?
He has asked me to teach a scientific technique. The scientific technique of yoga, whether it be Kriya Yoga or Raj Yoga or Amanaska Yoga, these techniques are meant for everyone. But the great grand masters of hoary antiquity have put certain bindings and regulations of safety to the side so that the techniques may not be corrupted. Therefore, they have given teachers of Sadgurus and Gurus, and those who are really interested in learning the teachings can come to the Sadgurus and the masters and learn the techniques in their pristine purities. It is meant for anyone and everyone. Then the question is, why don't you throw it out to the public? In the public, there are people of many mindsets. There are loving people, good people, critics. There are flagellants. They take one technique, give it to unprepared people. Those unprepared people prostitute the techniques and start earning money from certain mantras. So all these things happen. Therefore, it's free and everybody can have it, but they must come to the proper channel. And to throw this out in a public measure or a public speech is really very, very difficult. But I can give you something better and something more. Although I may not give you the technique, I can give you the fruit of the technique, the result of the technique. That I can give you. I will not give you the technique how to practice to go from dharana to dhyan or from dhyan to samadhi, but I can give you more. I can give you an experience of the samadhi, but the practice must be done by only sincere people. Samadhi can be given to believers, non-believers, seekers, general people, everybody, come one, come all. The lifestyle of yoga is for everyone, but the techniques must maintain their purity and psychic integrity, and therefore it requires a beacon of light called the Sathguru, who guides his disciples to the final destination.
So Gurunath, when we come into the manifested world, we have simple desires like we want to maintain our health, हमें रिश्ते सुधारने हैं, हमें पैसा चाहिए, we need to take care of our families. So we have desires. So how much of it is predestined and how much of free will do we have to take our life from point A to point B? And what is the role of karma in all this?
Everybody comes into life with his past impressions and samskars. If a person has a predominance of sattva gun, he becomes a yogi, a meditating person, a philosopher. If he has a predominance of, say, Rajogun, he becomes an administrator, a warrior, a conqueror. If he has a predominance of Tamogun, then he lazily idles his time, or he does some menial work which is a low-brained work. Now you must remember one thing, that these gunas, they determine what your vocation is, because if you have more purity, you will feel like meditating all the time. If you have more energy, you will feel like, going into battle all the time, or having many wives, having more sex all the time. If you're lazy, you'll feel like eating tamogun, stale food, sleeping, being lazy. But all human beings are a mixture of all three. Now I'll tell you the relation of karma, dharma, gunas. The gunas are tamo, raja and sattva. To make you understand practically in Western language, the tamogun is the neutron, rajogun is the proton, and the sattva gun is the electron. Now, we have in India what the great masters, Manu, were geniuses. We have, our religion is not a Hindu religion at all. It is called Sanatan, Sanatan Dharma, or to be more technical, Vedic Varna Ashram Dharma, not Vedic Jati Ashram Dharma. We never did Jati. India was the first person to treat all with equanimity and on an even keel. The yogis, even myself, many times I go, the sweeper's wife is there, she invites me for food, I go, I have food with her. Some orthodox Brahmins objected to that in Vriddeshwar, but we have no such thing. We have been misunderstood, and Manuvad is called Jativad. No, no, no. It is by half-baked people, they have no vidya of this, no gyan. I will tell you how it forms. The subtle sattva, raja and tama gun are the constituents of Mother Nature. She is composed of electrons, protons and neutrons. She is pure energy. By our self-effort, if we go into politics or administration, our ambition will increase, our desires will increase, then we will want to go into the army, we will want to be certain people, presidents of power and all that. Jo hukmaran hote hain, hukmaran, the commanders, and so then what happens with that desire? Those who have, atoms will coalesce in your body little by little, but not the electron, not the neutron of laziness, nor the electron of meditation, the proton of power and Shakti. So if you have more of that aggregate in your body, you will join the army. Then those who meditate more will have more of sattva, electrons. Electron is just 1 mile slower than the speed of light, remember. At any time it can go into Samadhi, into the wave. The wave particle duality is the duality between the wave of light and the particle of the electron, which are very close, and they happen simultaneously. So if you have that electron going into light, you will constantly be meditating and then tend to go into states of Sabikalp Samadhi, not Nirvikalp. So at the amount of gunas or subatomic particles which predominate your mind and substance, that will make you a tinker, a tailor, a soldier, a tailor. Okay, that will make you a soldier. It's nothing got to do with Jativad. My Jati is Kshatriya. My vocation is Brahman. I am going in Samadhi. Ravan was Brahman Jati, Kshatriya Dharma. Meera, Kshatriya Jati, Brahman Dharma. Nothing got to do with Jati. It has got to do with your Varna. And Varna is the coloring of the electron, proton. If there is radiance, you tend towards to be a Brahman. If you have power and energy of Pran, you tend to be towards a military general or a great ruler. If it's laziness and eating stale food and just being this thing, you will tend to become a menial laborer, cheating and fudging. Nothing is wrong. That's who you are. It's nothing got to do with your birth. It has got to do with the aggregate of collective atoms. Whether you're more electronic, you're a Brahman, or you're more protonic and a Kshatriya, and or you're more neutronic with the neutrinos, and you're this thing. So your gunas determine your dharma, and your dharma determines your karma. It's all very scientific. So it's your inner soul and Atma which pushes you, but influenced by your past habit. If your past habit is to steal and lie and lie and go to sleep and be lazy and eat stale food, you will become a Shudra. Not by birth, but by the aggregate of negative neutrons in your body. If you are active and strong and you like to conquer countries and this, and you love beautiful women and have a lot of sex and be very famous and very popular, you will become something very, very powerful, a general, or something like Genghis Khan, or very, very powerful uh, artist like Picasso. But he was very known and very Rajasic, but he had a very loose life. He used to fall in any love, or any woman who came to assist him in painting, he used to fall in love with her and paint her. So that is not, he is not good or not, that's who he is. A rose is not trying to become a rose, it is, so it gives the fragrance of a rose. So if you're a Brahman and you're a radiant person and you're meditating, then you will give the radiance of meditation, you will give states of Samadhi. So your guna, the aggregate of subatomic particles, depends on who you are at the atomic stage. The atomic stage will determine who you are at the molecular stage, and the molecular building blocks will determine whether you have the Brahman pure habit of meditating, or the yogi is the highest, or you have the habit of leading a nice household life, or being a Kshatriya in the army, or you will have the lazy habit of sleeping, eating stale food. So this is what is meant by Vedic Varnashram Dharma. The Sanatan Dharma is not a Jati Adram Dharma, it is a Varnashram Dharma. The Varna is the aura around your body. So the Shudra aura is not that he is born that, he can still be a Brahman. Valmiki was not of the highest thing, but he meditated. There's an example of the caste of manual labor, who became higher and higher and became a Brahman. Brahmajanati Brahmana. This is the thing. So your guna determine your dharma, and as your dharma is, so your tendency to create that karma. That is the link.
And how can we change our karma, Guru?
You can change your karma by changing your lifestyle. And yoga is one of the most powerful lifestyles to change your karma. Right from the DNA and telomeres and the genes in your body up to the physical body you have maintained, you can change by the power of your will, which is a direct radiance of the God within you called Atma.
So, Gurunath, you previously said that Kriya Yoga, or the practice of yoga, or the practice that you give, is for selected few people who actually will come and learn it from you, but you can still give a state of samadhi to everyone. So people are asking, if you're anyways giving us a state of samadhi, why do we need to practice?
So he has said that, Gurunath, the Kriya Yoga practice is given to very selected people because it's sacred, its spiritual and psychic integrity must be maintained, because if you do a wrong technique and you slip it, it can give you more disturbance of mind than a peace of mind. So we have to take precaution. But he says, then there's a dichotomy, because in the same breath you're saying, come to me, I will not give you the technique, you have to practice it properly, but I can give you the effect. I cannot give you the dhyan dharana, but I can give you the samadhi. I say this because there's a connection between your soul and my soul. The spark of God is within you as is within me. I form this as a link, and as what they call love for the disciple, or grace of the Guru upon the disciple, or Guru Kripa, the Guru who is free from the bonds of karma can take the liberty to give you this little chocolate of Samadhi. He can break the rules, and you are doing nothing. He is doing it all for you, just connecting with that spark, your potential. He is showing you the ultimate result of that spark, or the penultimate result of that spark, that you too, like him, can go into a state of thought-free state of tranquil awareness, which is a state of nirvichar samadhi. This is what he gives you, and even a higher state of awareness. So this is like a blessing, a grace which the Sadguru gives to his disciples. The Guru doesn't give it. He gives you the teaching. The Gurus inform and masters transform. Teachers inform and masters transform. The Gurus inform and the Sadguru transforms. That is the litmus test of the Sadguru. If you go for yoga shopping in the supermarket of yoga and you want to know who the Sadguru is,
Sadgurunath, what is the litmus test of a true Sadguru?
the litmus test is that as soon as you sit in his presence, your mind will calm down. To the more sensitive ones, the mind will stop totally in an awareness. So it's a reciprocal thing. The Guru is giving you Samadhi all the time, he is radiating, but the disciple has varying degrees of receptivity. Some will get a total stillness of mind, some will get a partial one, some will get none. But from the Guru's side, it's all equal. Om Namah Shivaya. I have evolved several techniques. उसका आविष्कार किया है मैंने, and those special techniques for the evolution of your consciousness, which I impart to sincere seekers, are known as Shivapath, Shaktipath and Pranapath. Shaktipath is already known and given by various masters all over the world. But Shivapath is a technique where if one mind, by the way, the mind is the disciple and the consciousness is the master. So this technique is, if any mind is attuned to an undifferentiated consciousness, then that mind shall become that consciousness to the degree of its attunement with that consciousness. That is, if any disciple attunes himself to the Samadhi avastha of the master, that disciple will become that degree of Samadhi of the master to the degree of Samadhi which he has attained in the larger Samadhi of the master.
So, Gurunath, you're from a royal family. You've been a boxer, you've been a bodybuilder, you've been a swimmer. Till today, you travel the world teaching your teachings to people, your disciples who want to learn Kriya Yoga from you. You still very actively teach over here in the ashram as well. You entertain us with giving your time equally between the sadhana, between answering our questions, and you have somehow you have a very balanced family life from what we've seen. You've got kids, grandkids, everything. So there's a perfect balance of spirituality with so-called materialism. But you are at a very different level, and we can say it's very easy for you to do, but for the general public or the general man, how does he balance between his life, his work, his family, and seeking God at the same time?
Well, this is a question which everybody asks, and from ancient times, the great Shivohaam Babaji, who is also popularly known as Mahavatar Babaji, and his great Yoga Avatar disciple, Lahiri Mahasaya, also an avtaric being, was a householder. So Babaji and Lahiri Mahasaya thought it fit to bring householder yogis who were enlightened and realized into the crowds and householder and normal living people, and teach them that yoga is not meaning running away into the jungles. You don't have to run away into the jungles. You can still be in a beautiful, quiet place, but in society, like we are here in an ashram. It's a Vanaprastha ashram. I am a householder yogi, come to teach you that in spite of being a householder and a married man, having children and grandchildren, you can still achieve the goal of divine, eternal bliss. You can still achieve the goal of self-realization. And in order to do this, they have given the apt techniques of Kriya Yoga and then later Raj Yoga to get to your parent source, who is God. You will automatically pivot and revolve towards the no spin zone, because the eternal silence which satisfies everything is God, and that is your parent source and true nature. So whether you like it or not, everybody will go to the state of self-realization. In your case, it will be faster because you've deliberately made an effort, you've come to the ashram to a Sathguru, and you are practicing the necessary means to achieve the necessary ends. So your evolution will be faster. But they too will evolve who don't come, but at a very slow rate. And the secret of this is maybe in homeopathic doses, but every day and regularly. Take your medicine of God, take your medicine called God. And what are the inner ingredients of the medicine? Satatabhyas and Vairagya. Constant practice and trying to be indifferent to material things little by little every day. So this is very, very important.
Sadgurunath, how much time does a householder need to give to God to practice the techniques that you're teaching? How much time?
I'll tell you what I tried to do. My personal, I can't speak for others or lay out a thing. When I went into the household family life, my mother, my parents, my wife, my children, I found it in the beginning a little difficult because a lot of noise was there and tend to adjust to the timings and all that. But then I said, I relaxed a little and I said, why not treat all the members of the household as God? That made my thing very easy and flow. Although those gods were troubling me a lot, but I said they are God, but I was very strong. This is one way. And then cut out a time in the early morning where they don't disturb, meditate, or deep in the night. Of course, my deepest night is early morning because I meditate from 2 to 3 to 4. That's deep in the night. But my night is so deep that it comes into Brahma Muhurt. 2, 3, 4. So when you have that space, you can use that space to do Kriya Yoga. And then another thing which helps you in spite of yourself is the momentum of your past karma, that is known as your Sanchit karma, Purva Sanskar. When they come with you, then you get an intense desire to build. Now, how do you think you're keeping this up? Instead of all the disturbances and people, the backload of your karma, your luggage is mostly meant to travel to God, which other luggage is this thing. So if you have the good sanskar, that momentum pushes you towards God. And also in the Ikshavaku Upanishad, it is very beautifully given how you can stay in the family life and have family life and yet be enlightened. It's not difficult, you're doing it right now. Go ahead, bravo, keep it up.
Sadgurunath, then what is enlightenment?
You have asked a very wonderful question as to what is enlightenment. To tell you in brief, because we are speaking the English language, freedom from mind is enlightenment. Period. Of course, it will be disappointing for people who wanted to hear a long treatise, but I will detail this. In the sutras, the Sutrani Sutra of Patanjali, the answers of the whole book is given in one sentence. Chitta vritti nirodha. Now, what does a chitta vritti nirodha mean? Mind is more than what you think. The chitta is the mind. The mind is expounded as man, buddhi and ahamkar. In your mind, there are three sections. One is of the man, that is the mind. It is the stenotypist. It notes all the impressions coming in from the afferent nerves, all the impressions coming in from the eyes, mouth, taste, touch. It's just the recorder, manas. Then higher than manas is a subtle principle called ahamkar. Now, ahamkar is composed of the rajogun, and anything that happens in you, you take ownership. Arey, this area, this is my space. They say, hey, you buffoon. They say, oh, they called me a buffoon, so you feel bad. What a sweet boy. He called me a sweet boy, so I feel good. All these ownership of all these emotions is done by the ego. It's a big problem. So it's not easy to get freedom from mind unless you get freedom from the ego. And the third is buddhi. Now, buddhi is the closest. She is the closest to Atma. The mind, Atma is above the mind, but the mind of Prakriti is consisted of mana, buddhi and ahamkar. So, the lowest portion of the mind, which is man, that has predominantly got less of animation, less of awareness, and it has a lot of tamo gun mixed with other guns, predominantly tamo. Then you have the ahamkar, which has predominantly rajogun. It's dominated by rajogun, and the rajogun, the force of the rajogun is pran. That's why pran is the mover of everything in creation, and it is the ahamkar that brings you into creation and brings you out. Sattva, which is buddhi, which teaches you how to meditate and how to discriminate, vivek buddhi, between what is matter and what is consciousness. The whole game of life is to always say to yourself, मैं देह नहीं मैं आत्मा हूँ, मैं देह नहीं मैं आत्मा हूँ. I'm not matter, I'm divine. I'm not this house of flesh and bone. I'm immortal consciousness. So this is vivek buddhi. This is exercised to get to this state. But when you get freedom from mind, you are enlightened. But it takes many lifetimes to get freedom of mind. For mind is another name of Maya. And the Purush, Shiva, God, is working on Prakriti by his mere presence. So the Paramatma is at once, the Paramatma both at once empowers and is eminent as your Atma in creation. So this is called the mind. Once you, in your mind's lake, if you can still your mind and sever the connection between buddhi and atma, then ego and manas are automatically disconnected. If you sever the connection of atma from buddhi, then your atmic consciousness will not have a single thought, it will just be still. Like what I take my audience into daily, my disciples to be more correct, into this state. I tell them, come share my Samadhi, and I give them a foretaste of what is my state, what is my identity, so that they can be future, they can practice hard and future get to the still state. That state is very still in enlightenment, very still. There is not a single thought, nor a single form, nirgun nirakar, and you just feel you're aware that you are, not I, just aware. This state of thought free, of course I can't give you the perfect description of enlightenment, because the ultimate state cannot be described, but just to point to you, to help you as much as I can with the limited words I have, the state of enlightenment is a thought free state of tranquil awareness. This would be a pointer to what it feels like when you are in a state of temporary enlightenment. That which I give you is also temporary enlightenment, but when you get it and get permanent enlightenment, that is moksha, freedom from mind. Because if you get temporary enlightenment and have no thoughts, after some time the thoughts come. So you are temporarily have tasted enlightenment, but you are not enlightened unless you permanently merge into that state, the thought-free state of tranquil awareness. I have described enlightenment in one of my poems. वहाँ ध्यान न स्थान न नाद न बिंद, आकाश नहीं वहाँ काल कहाँ, सब शून्य शून्य का हैपन है, ईश्वर भी निरंकार वहाँ. So this means there is no meditation. वहाँ ध्यान नहीं है, न होश है स्थान का, न नाद है, न बिंदु है. Naad is the ceaseless flow of the sound of creation. Om. Or Bind is the still point of eternity. वो भी नहीं है. Means you're crossing all barriers of relativity and going to the reality. You're crossing all the thoughts of duality and going to the singularity. So when you are in a still state, that is, I've tried with words to describe enlightenment, but I'm tongue-tied hopelessly, because how can you describe with your mind a state which is beyond mind? But nevertheless, I will try to give you the pointer. Go this way, go this way. What should I do to attain enlightenment? I'm giving you the various poems and the various facets of how I can describe enlightenment. Patanjali has simply said, Chitta Vritti Nirodha, freedom from mind is enlightenment. I have analyzed the mind, put it into three sections. The Chitta is Atma, Buddhi, Manas, Ahamkar. Buddhi, Ahamkar and Manas. And in another poem I've said, you always fail when you get to Atma, you can describe the mind. Then stiller than stillness itself. What do you have to be to get to God? Stiller than stillness itself. Beyond bated breath, I do behold my rising self-sun's nectar gold. That is the picture of Ram or Krishna or Christ. But that is not the final state. That is not the final, that's the penultimate state, where you get the Virat Swarup of Krishna, where you get the image of Ram. So, I have described the first stage. Then stiller than stillness itself, with bated breath I do behold my rising self-sun's nectar gold. I dissolve in that mystery untold. So now, you see, he ultimately takes you from Savikalp to Nirvikalp. But then, the ultimate mystery he takes, that self-sun's rising gold is a darshan of Krishna, darshan of Ram. Gurunath appears to me in a tremendous light. But there's stage beyond that. What does he say? I dissolve into that mystery untold. That's what you're saying. I do this still breath, then I see the nectar gold, I see Krishna, I see Ram, I see everyone. I see the Imam Mahdi, I see Christ. But then after that, I go beyond that, I don't know. I can't describe it. So that state is not describable. So many poems I've said about what is enlightenment. And I've said also in a poem, don't try to understand what is enlightenment. For here your feet upon your head is humbled to the floor, you'll go crazy. The awe-filled mystery, you yourself ask no more. So these are the various facets of enlightenment which I've given to you in poetry form. But you will always fail for total enlightenment. If you say, what is a vision? Then I can say, self-sun rising gold, or Lord Krishna appears with a flute and he's got a beautiful peacock. That you can do because it has got name and form. The ultimate state has no name and form. This is it.
Gurunath, is it possible to be enlightened and still be on earth as a mortal?
It's very awkward to say that I'm enlightened. But when you sit in front of an enlightened master, he's not going to say, I'm enlightened, and dance around. I said it because, like a child, I thought that was the easiest. It saved a lot of energy. What are the signs? No master will tell you he's enlightened. Depending upon the degree of receptivity and the refinement of the mind of the disciple, he will be able to tell that a master is enlightened. I have spoken about this. What are the hallmarks of an enlightened master? It seems awkward to tell of the hallmarks, but the first hallmark is that as you sit in the presence of the master, according to the degree of your attunement, your samvedanshilta, your mind will still. If you go to any master, if he's painted himself and he's got a huge following, but your mind is agitated, he does not radiate the stillness, he does not reflect his silence in you, then do pranam and go away. You're wasting your time. I have to tell you this because time is short. I have to give you good guidance as to, you must test me. Call me out. Ask me questions. Challenge me. And if I fail, leave me. But if I give you the test, then be with me. And you will progress along the spiritual path. So the first test of the litmus test of the Sadguru is, as you sit in his presence, your mind stills absolutely. The second test is you will feel, I've been through such a long journey, ultimately I've found my master. You'll feel that. I have reached home. I have quenched the thirst of the ages. In more or less degree, you will feel this according to the degree of your receptivity to me. These are the few things. Sadguru कौन जो आवागमन मिटाता और अलख निरंजन दाता वही सदगुरु कहलाता. So the Sadguru stops the cycle of birth and death, and he gives you the true essence of God. He gives you true enlightenment. Such a person is Sadguru. He gives you enlightenment not without you making the effort. He makes you make the effort. He makes you do your practice, your sadhana, your dhyan, dharana, your states of samadhi, and then he gives you the ultimate push. to realization of yourself.